My name is Tim Neese. I'm a Defense Space Act lawyer. I'm also a veteran of the U.S. Army Rangers. I'm oftentimes asked, while I'm receiving DBA compensation, am I able to work? Uh, the answer is yes, you can work as long as it is within your physical restrictions placed by your doctor. As an example, I'm here at a hotel room. I had a Defense Base Act mediation today. My client was a medic overseas in Erbil, Iraq. So during the pendency of his claim, he started working in another area than what he did overseas. Obviously, it's a protective security specialist and medic. He found a job that was within his restrictions. He had a shoulder injury and he had pretty significant restrictions. He can't lift more than 10 pounds, no overhead work, no pushing and pulling with that affected arm. So it did limit him in what he could find. So he found a job working within his restrictions. It was something that he researched, and of course, to do this, you have to know what your restrictions are. So make sure you talk to your doctor, who, by the way, your doctor is the most important person in your DBA claim, not your lawyer, your doctor. So discuss it with your doctor. Say, I'd like to get back to doing some work. I just want to make sure this would not cause problems for me medically. And also make sure you have a firm idea of your restrictions. Then research that job and make sure it doesn't violate those restrictions. So the contractor, in the case I'm talking about now, talked to his doctor. It was a job where he wouldn't have to lift more than 10 pounds and not do any overhead work. So he began working. The next question I'm oftentimes asked is, how will that affect my pay? There's a number of factors that go into it. The first thing to consider is, how much did you make overseas, say in Iraq? So if you had a job making $3,000 a week over there, and then you have a job here making $500, $600, $700, whatever it may be, back here in the United States, sometimes depending on how much you're paid overseas, so you take all the earnings for the 52 weeks prior to the injury, divide it by 52, that comes up with the average weekly wage, and if you're working, they'll subtract what you're making here in the United States from the average weekly wage and times it by 66 and 2/3%. So it may be that you can work here at a job depending on how much you make, and it won't impact the amount of compensation that you get under the Defense Base Act. If you have a lawyer already, definitely talk to your lawyer. Say you like to get a job, um, um, and provide your lawyer what that job will be, so that you and your lawyer can discuss it and make sure that it's not going to violate the restrictions, which would could impact the claim. But also, you don't want to worsen your injury by working in a field that would put more stress on, say, that joint or your back or your hip or whatever the injury you have. I always recommend to my clients, like very early on, as soon as you're cleared to do some work, talk to your doctor, make sure you know what the restrictions are. Look online, go on Indeed.com, Monster.com, Career Builder. Look for jobs that fit within that restriction. There's numerous examples I have over the years. Another gentleman had a back injury with pretty significant restrictions. He found a job as a soil sampler in Texas. I'd never heard of that type of job before, and I looked it up, and he looked it up, and he talked to the people at the job. So he works somewhat in a lab, and he takes small dishes of soil and run it through this analysis through a machine and print up a report. And that was well within his restrictions. And another one became like a trucking analyst. So it was for a smaller trucking company, maybe 15 or 20 trucks. So it would be a desk job, and his is a back injury, so he could stand up and sit down as needed. It wasn't physical at all, so he'd sit in front of a computer. They actually got for him one of those desks that can move up and down so he can stand up and sit down They were really impressed with him. Both of these clients that I'm talking about were, are former military. So, they accommodated him, got him that desk that can raise up and down, and he would just schedule truck deliveries, using his or the computer they provided him. And when the truckers would come in, he'd hand them the keys, hand them the information on where to go, as well within his restrictions. It helps you out mentally when you can go back to work. It wouldn't be most likely the type of work that you did overseas. The one that would work for a trucking company, he was in like receiving and shipping logistics over there, but he had to move tires, inventory tires, equipment, heavy military equipment, speakers for CRAMs, all these things that obviously he can't do here. But his job here, working as a trucking analyst, that benefited him mentally. When you're out of work for a year or less or more, it affects you. So going back to work is definitely something I recommend. You just have to be careful that it is within your restrictions. Quite honestly, a lot of guys say, "Oh, I really only know security," or I was a ranger, or I was in airborne units, and then I worked security contracting, and they think that they can only work in that type of field. That's not true. There's many employers, for example, that the gentleman, the client of mine who did the soil sampling, is a trucking analyst. There was a client today who works for it's a company that deals with blood and blood drives and that type of thing. It's not going to be the same type of work, but all of these clients that I was told you about today, these three examples, they love what they're doing. They like that they can go out and work and be a member of a society again. So the answer is, if you have a job within your restrictions, talk to your doctor and go over with your lawyer and take the job. I think it would help you out immensely. It also helps out with the claim, helps resolve the claims faster, I believe. If you have any questions, my name is Tim Neese. Our website is defensebaseactlawyers.com. The phone number is 772-283-8712. I can meet and speak with clients after hours. I can also have WhatsApp. I speak to many clients that are still over in Kuwait or Iraq or other countries, and I can answer whatever questions you have. Hope to hear from you, and thank you.